The first speaker will be Father Dominic Peridans. He's an associate pastor at a Roman Catholic parish in Maryland and has been a pastor at a parish in Laredo, right on the border, and is the son of immigrants from Belgium himself, so has a good deal of both professional and personal experience with the issue. And
good morning. I'd like to thank Mark and the Center for Immigration Studies for this invitation. This is a fairly new forum for me. And anyhow, I noticed that at 10 o'clock in the First Amendment Lounge there will be Bertha Lewis from Acorn speaking, which of course is a sign to me that God has a tremendous sense of humor. So we gather here in this room this morning to discuss the role of religion in the public debate on and in the consequent forging of public policy for the very delicate issue of immigration. We gather for that discussion, but I would like to argue that, strictly speaking, religion has no role. So thank you very much for the invitation, Mark. Have a great day.
Move on to the next speaker.
I'm somewhat kidding. I am actually very serious about religion having no role, strictly speaking, in the public debate on and in the forging of public policy for the delicate issue of immigration. And I hope I'm not going to be disappointing those of you who came for a convincing religious argument for controlled illegal immigration and the legitimacy of corresponding laws. Let me be very specific. Religion has no official public role. Religion is a private matter. Religion is a sacred private matter that the state must respect. And interestingly, religion in turn must respect the state. Now, does this mean that the two are separate worlds? Does this mean that the religious community and the political community are never to meet? It does not. If you would like to think in more diagrammatic terms, think not in terms of two parallel, juxtaposed, separate communities, the political community on one side and the religious community on the other side. Think rather of the religious community as emerging from and transcending, yet eminently rooted in the political community. Members of the religious community are necessarily members of the political community. In fact, let us call the latter the national community, so hopefully to make this somewhat clearer. Religion as private matter means not that there are no public expressions of religiosity and that it's not part of our patrimony and our heritage. Religion as private matter means, as I will try to explain, hopefully with some clarity, that religious persons, and in this particular case Christians, Catholics, need not refer to their religious belief, to God, for wisdom regarding the national community and its various issues, including that of immigration. Does not referring to one's faith in the public square mean forsaking one's faith? Absolutely not. It means that in the public square, what we need is not the voice of religion, but the voice of reason, the voice of what I would call refined common sense, a political or philosophical perspective. In Catholic circles, there is a theological principle that is foundational and makes for sound thinking. Some of you may have heard of this, those of you who've done some theology. Grace does not destroy nature. Grace does not destroy nature. Otherwise put, grace, which comes from above, we believe, respects nature, respects the natural, respects human reality. This means, amongst other things, that what is true of the national community is true for all its members, including the very religious, including Christians, including Catholics. The transcendence of the religious community, as I expressed it, is not a separation of any sort. It means that Christian faith is essentially an interior reference to and bond with the divine that gives new meaning to the individual's life. But faith strictly speaking, provides no new intelligibility and consequently no new guidelines for the national community. The national community continues to make sense on its own, or supposedly. So much does grace respect nature that it led Thomas Aquinas, one of the theological references in the Catholic tradition, to say in his treatise on charity, quote, "In matters concerning relations between citizens, we should prefer our fellow citizens." Thank you, Thomas. Let me further explain. What I'm articulating, as far as I can tell, is a very Catholic perspective, although for some reason it leads me to a conclusion that is different than what is currently being articulated by many members of the Catholic hierarchy in the United States. You may have noticed. Thus, please clearly note that I'm speaking not for them, but for myself, and for the dignity of the human mind, and in defense of the common good. That is why I am an associate pastor at the generic Roman Catholic parish, and not a specific one. I'm trying to proceed with utter respect with respect to my church. In the Catholic tradition, there is respect for the autonomy of the human mind. In other words, there is an understanding that the human mind can, of its own inquiry, come to an understanding of basic human truths about, amongst other things, human personhood, love, nature, and community. Such an understanding is arrived at through the careful, attentive search into human experience, into human reality, into the reality that we all experience. We all have an experience of being human persons, and of love, and of nature, and of community, of national community. And so, strictly speaking, the intellectual playing field, save the case of perhaps a disability, is level for all human beings, including Christians. And we can and do often arrive at an understanding that resonates with the majority of the population, an understanding that members of the national community, including Christians, including Catholics, use to engage in dialogue on issues affecting everyone. Now, I realize that that may sound like wishful thinking or heresy to some who claim that reality is unknowable and that in the public square the best we can do is just try to accommodate the vast array of diverse opinions that we have. I would disagree with that. Catholics can fall into that thinking at times when they feel compelled to compete to make sure that their voice or the voice of the church is heard.